Hi, this is Robert with Pioneer Smokehouses, and today what we're going to do is we're going to change out the control panel on a Traeger pellet grill size 20. This is the same size as the tailgater, and from all the information I'm getting, they're using a similar control panel in all these, and so you can buy replacements aftermarket for a pretty reasonable price. And one of the nice things about buying a replacement is if you have a base model and you're not completely happy with it, you can buy the replacement model and an upgrade for a real good deal. So on the one that I got, this is how it comes, and it's just in a box and it's well packaged. So I'll let you know right now, this is the second one I've done. It comes with a temperature probe. I'm sorry, this is not a temperature probe. What it is, it's a temperature sensor that goes inside the grill. And we might not use this, and the reason is that they are also sold without these, so that makes me think that you can use the existing one inside the grill. And because this grill is working really well as it is, I'm gonna try that first. And on my grill that I just fixed previously, I did that and it worked just fine. Really nice packaging and complete directions. One thing I want to point out about these directions is that there is instructions for some other repairs in them. And this is the first time I'm opening this one, but the previous one was exactly the same. So it shows how to do things like replace fans and other things. So this vendor probably sells all these different parts and just uses one book for all English stuff. And I'm assuming that they have a book printed in other languages like Spanish or whatever they need. I have read through these in the first package, so I'm not going to read through them. And I have a system that I'm going to use because some of the wires inside the Traeger are not color coded. So you would have to know what the color codes mean, which is in the manual, of course. And I'm not gonna do it that way. I'm gonna do it a simpler way. So we've got extra wrapping there to keep everything nice and safe. And then here's the whole unit. So I'm gonna come forward to the camera just a little bit here, and maybe you can see that the lighting is a little off, time of year. So we've got two probes and a switch, and then a probe selector, and then all the normal settings. This one does not have probes on the original model, and this is a higher model, so it's not the top of the line, but it's a really good one. So this is an upgrade from the original Traeger control. But you know, if you feel like you want to buy the Traeger one, you know, it is a little bit more money, but don't, you know, buy what you want, you know. So as far as the tools that we need, we only need a small straight tip screwdriver for the temperature probe and a Phillips driver. In this case, I'm using my power drill, but you could use a regular handheld Phillips driver. It just, you know, Phillips screwdriver just would take you a minute or two. So next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and move the camera up a little bit closer so you can get a better idea. I did put in a light today, so that way we might be able to get a little bit better lighting up here. I'm going to move it, and I'm going to double check the microphone here. Yeah, it looks like we're going good. I've been playing with the microphone, trying to get a little bit better each time, and hopefully we'll be able to do that. So that looks like a pretty decent angle. So when the directions, they tell you to take the whole assembly apart by opening the bottom. So the bottom is sealed with these screws right here. So there's two on this side and two on the back. On the last one I did, it really wasn't necessary to remove all the screws. I did have an issue with it, and the issue that I had was when I inserted the screws, it didn't completely, one of the pins came out. So the control panel is removed with these two screws right here. I usually remove the bottom one first and then the top one. And then when I reinstall it, I do it the exact opposite way, but I just kind of leave them in there loose until I get everything the way I want it. So now it's kind of a tight fit because the wires are kind of pushed in there a little bit. And then just like that, boom. So let's see if this is loose or not. If it's not loose, then we'll have to remove the bottom. Yeah, it looks like we might need a pair of cutters to remove a zip tie. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to pop out. I'm going to loosen this one. I'm not going to take it out. Same thing on the back here. Just going to loosen it a little bit and see if we can get it done. And then I'll take this back one out. Guess I probably should have brought a pair of side cutters for that. But on the last one, it wasn't connected. So I'm going to pop my head down under here and take a look. And then just so that way you have a good idea, I'm going to take a picture and then you can see what I'm seeing. So on the bottom is the main fan and on the top is the side fan. And there's just a couple of zip ties in here. And honestly, I might be able to pull them off, so I'm going to try that first. I got the one. Broke the other one. As zip ties get older, they tend to get brittle. So when they get brittle, you can almost remove them with your hand. So we just have two more in here holding the whole package together, and I don't think I can get that by hand. The really short ones are hard to twist and break, but I have a pair of pliers right here. So let's get that in there. On most pairs of pliers, you have like a sharp edge on the base. And I'm just gonna, I'll show that to you. So if you see right here, that little edge right there works really good for cutting wires, and I'm assuming that's what it's designed for. But I don't design tools, I just use them until I break them. I'm pretty good at that. Perfect. So this one was pretty well secured. The other grill, my grill that I fixed, was not as well secured. So it took me a little bit more work or less work to get the wires apart. But with, like I said, with these zip ties, we can just do this, and then at a later time, after we get it all running, we can come back and rebundle those. I do have a twist tie on my lighting kit, and so I might just do that. So now that I've released all this, I'm gonna pull it up and see if I can get it to come through the door here. Now the directions call for taking it all apart on the inside and everything. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and release the temperature probe. So there's just two screws right here. And those two screws, and it's undone. So I'll leave those to the side. That's the last thing I'll deal with. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to hold these up so that way you can see the difference. But I'm also going to take a picture. If you can't see that with the camera, I'll put the picture right over my shoulder here. And I'll just do that anyway, just for the fun of it. And then we have all these wires in here. And you'll see that inside, there's a little bit more colored than the other ones. So we're not as bad off as we were. Yeah, the only one that's not colored is the temperature probe. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do this one at a time, though. And on the connectors, there is a little bit of a catch right there. So if it doesn't just come right off, you can just put your screwdriver right there and you can see it. It'll just pop right off. So I'm going to do them one at a time. And for some reason, I just always like to start with the power. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this stuff is all free and nothing's tucked inside of itself, so that way it'll be easy to do. Then we'll go ahead and plug this first one in. So one of the problems that I had last time is that the one of the pins came out and I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working, and then when I opened it back up, I'm just like, oh, that makes sense, the wire's just hanging there. So I'm sure that getting these things to line up is probably the hardest part of the whole job. Something else too, when you're on this back one and you don't have a good hold, you just put it up against the side of the unit, and you can use the side of the unit for a little bit of pressure, and then you get it to go in. And then solid connection right there. Okay, now these other ones are coated pretty well, and even a dot on this one. So I'm just going to go ahead and take them all apart. So the orange one has 2 orange wires. Disconnect that. Purple one has a purple dot. We'll disconnect that. And the red one is 2 red wires. Now, if your model does not have color coding, you'll either need to color code it before you disconnect them, or just do 1 wire at a time. All right, and then I'll go ahead and do the red one for no particular reason. For some reason that didn't fill like I wanted it to fill. So I'm going to go ahead and open it back up and make sure. Yeah, see, this is what happened right here. I'm going to show you this. You can see that the white prong there, it came out when I plugged it in. Trying to get it to come loose without damaging the connector. And I'll be honest, my hands are cold, so that doesn't help it much. So I'm just going to move on to the next one for a second here. So you've got orange wire and orange wire. I'm going to take a look at these before I push it in though, because I don't want the same thing to happen again. So they look pretty good. And you might even consider some dielectric grease. And dielectric grease will not only help, dielectric grease, it'll not only help with it slide in easier, but it'll also prevent any corrosion on the inside. And I do use that on all my terminals for my trolling motors when I'm working on my boat. If you're interested in trolling motor information, hit me up in the comments below and I'll give you my link to my other website and channel. Okay, so now we've got those 2 connected, and now I just need to get this one unconnected. And like I said, it was kind of tight and my hands are kind of frozen, so I'm going to work that out. The new connectors are a lot tighter than the old ones, and I'm assuming that they just tend to loosen up with age. If I don't get it in a second here, I'm going to have to turn off the camera and go get some more tools. There we go. Just kind of have to pry that up a little bit. So now I'm going to reinsert this, and it's got a couple of wings on it and a retainer, and it looks like that retainer is slightly bent up. So I'm actually going to fix that, and it just looks like a little sideways prong there. I'm going to bend that back down so that way once it gets inside here, it'll hold in place. So get that in there. Wings go sideways. All the way in, just like that. So it does look pretty good, so I'm just going to try to go a little bit slower and not force it. And that time it just went right in. I think it just was a little tight. So now we got all these done, and again, I want them all nice and organized because I don't want them to get caught in the fan when we close it all up. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check these, and these are thin. So I'm just going to open that up enough that they'll fit inside this connector here. So I think before I do that, I think what I'll do is I think I'll go ahead and snap a little photo. You know what? I'm going to put one of these wires in here, and then I'm going to snap the photo. So I put this one in here just like this. So if I hold it up there, right there to that point, and then I just back that open, and as soon as it opens, it'll just slide right in, and then I can just tighten it back down, and it's just like that. So now I'm going to go ahead and take the photo. Get a little bit of an angle there so you can see the screw heads and the wire. All right, and so I put that photo up here for you. And then let's try this again. So I'm just going to put that in there a little bit at an angle. Back that thing out. And as soon as it was open wide enough, it just slipped right in, and then tighten it down. Double check this other connection here. It's good. Good. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and feed this back in here, and then I'll take a look at it from the bottom and see how much organizing we need to do. So let's grab it here and pull the main cord through there. A little bit to the side and kind of like that, and shimmy that in there. And then we will put these two in. And so I'm going to put the top screw in first, and I'm just going to seat it. So it's not tight. Then I'll put the bottom screw in, and we can go ahead and tighten that one up. And then we can tighten the top screw, and we're done there. So that's in the off position. I'm going to check all these wires and pull them down so that way we know they're not in the fans. Okay, and before I seal that up, I'm going to go ahead and give it a test. So I got the wire on the ground here. Okay, so I kicked the camera, so I had to cut that out real quick. All right, last time I did this, it did not work because one of the wires came loose. This time, one of the wires came loose, but I caught it before I put everything back together so I could see. So now we turn the switch on, and then just like that, and we're going. I'm going to go ahead and let it run while I do the rest of this stuff. I did say that I had a twist tie. Just a regular wired twist tie. I wouldn't recommend playing inside these things when they're hot. There we go. Okay. I'm going to open that back up one more time. Looks like we missed a couple of wires that were supposed to be in there. All right, and then we'll just put this screw in here. I'm assuming you can see that on the camera. And then the one on the back side of the panel. And then I'm going to tighten up these other ones that I loosened so that way the bottom would come off down without coming completely loose. So I just want to point out that it's already working just fine. I can smell it starting to heat up, and I was supposed to open this when I started the switch, but smoke is coming out. We're seeing the temperature here. It is rather cold out here today. I'm going to take a picture of the probe before it gets much smokier in there. And that probe, or temperature sensor, just sits right on the side. The fire bowl is directly below that inside the unit, right in this area. So the pellets go in through the auger, drop into the fire bowl, and then there's a stick. It's a igniter, fire stick or whatever, hot stick, and that's what causes it to burn. So now we're firing up here, and I'm going to go ahead and grab my gloves. Actually, I'm just going to grab one glove. I feel like some kind of mad scientist with a glove on. And I'm going to grab this before it gets hot and lift this out of there. When I'm using these, I like to keep them wrapped with tin foil and change them out every 3 or 4 uses. Since I'm taking it apart, I might just go ahead and do that today. But you can see how all the stuff drops down on there. There was a lot because of the last item I cooked. And then I'm going to take a little picture of this too. I have another picture that I took from the other one the other day. but there's a cover on it that moves, and then that's the flame pot. So I'm going to put that picture right up here for a second, and then I'm going to go ahead and put a picture of it actually burning, or a short video. It's only like 6 seconds, so here we go. Although it looks really cool in there. I really can't resist. I'm going to grab the camera and bring it in a little closer. Let's try to be careful. I don't want to jump you around a lot. Try to make it really nice and smooth. Look at that go. Now we're not up to temperature, but I can tell you right now that we're almost ready to change the temperature. Right now we're set on smoke, which is also startup. And I'm going to go ahead and move this back. All right, I had to stop the camera for a second because the battery went dead. Sorry about that. I hope we didn't miss too much good stuff. But I just moved the camera back and everything is looking good. So it's burning really good and temperature is going up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and close the lid down. So just like if we were normally burning, and then I'm going to set it up to a temperature that we would want to cook at. So 250 is a pretty reasonable cooking temperature. And I'm going to check the pellets. So my personal rule of thumb is every time I close the lid, the next thing I do is I check the pellets. When I'm cooking, I don't want any extra pellets left over, which I've mentioned in some of my other videos. But the biggest reason for me is because I have a lot of humidity. If you're storing it in your garage in a climate controlled area next to your house, like an attached garage, then this probably won't be an issue for you. But like myself, I don't have an attached garage, so I'm storing it outside, and we have the creek right next to us. So every morning, everything is covered with dew, except like in the middle of summer. And it's rainy season now, so everything is covered with water all the time. So I don't know if you can see that or not, but the temperature is up to 172 right now, and it is climbing fast. When it's burning at full power and you have the lid closed, the temperature will jump right up there. So I'm just going to let it run for a second and let it stabilize here. And I put it on 250, and I'm really hoping that we get up there fast. We're at 200 now. You see how quick that was. So I'm going to cover this again real quick, is that I have this. It came with the pack. Not every controller comes with one of these, but this one did. When I ordered my first one, I thought I needed it. And because it was such a successful install, I decided to order the exact same one. These are really cheap. The whole kit's really cheap. And I don't want to say exactly the price because prices change and I don't want that to be a problem. But the link's below. Click it and take a look at the price. It'll take you to Amazon. So if you do buy it, when you use my link, I will get compensated. When I say link, I have to say that. So it'll go above the temperature and then it'll come back down. And I noticed that this one tends to go a little higher on my controller, and we'll see where this one goes. It's still going, so we might need to change this over to make it work correctly. Plus, this is the first time we've used it, but all right, it came all the way up to 340. So maybe it'll drop back down a little bit. Mine, the first couple of times I used mine, it was all over the place. So now it's dropping down. So, and that might be something, a difference between one probe or temperature sensor and the other, is that might be a reason that you might have to change it, because it might be calibrated just for your controller. And the temperature is coming back down now. So once you've turned it on and you've gotten to your temperature, you'll want to leave it running for a few minutes because you want the whole case to heat up, so that way you can get a nice consistent temperature in the box. When you have a hot case and you open it up, even though you let out all the heat, you drop your food in, you close the lid real quick, it comes right back up to that temperature because all of the metal around it has that temperature. And we're dropping back down now, so I think that just the first time it might need to kind of adjust in and probably shoots a little past it. So anyway, I think that's pretty much everything I've got to say here, and we're good. You know, this unit, it looks the same, it functions good, and it has 2 probe plugins that the original one didn't have, and works solidly. So there's no reason you can't do this modification, and if you want to buy one that includes the probes too, you can do that. I've got probes running around here that I never use. I like to use instant read thermometers and wired probes that are not attached to the control panel, so I can actually watch that. There is a link for a wired probe down below, but usually I use the instant read thermometer too, that you'll see the link for. That little instant read thermometer, you just put it in the meat real quick, real fast, you're right back out. The only downside to that is you put a hole in the meat and juices will flow out of it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching. And like and subscribe this video, and I will appreciate it. Thank you.